Aldis podcast is brought to you by Aldis International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JB Valentine. Our guest today is Gaurav Rao. Gaurav is an Executive Vice President and General Manager of Machine Learning and AI for AtScale. Gaurav, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you. Gaurav, let's start with yourself, please. Could you give us a bit of an overview of your background in technology and your journey from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and take us up to today in your role at AtScale?
Absolutely. I'd like to think I have a very atypical career path, but maybe not. I'd say my technical journey probably started back in university. I decided to become a computer engineer, decided that was not technical or deep enough for me, and I wanted to know more about the underpinnings of what I was learning about. So I became a physics major, an engineering physics major. And while I'm not going to win a Nobel Prize in physics anytime soon, I feel that the background and the experience I had there has served me pretty well for the rest of my journey in tech and data. Everything from solving hard problems to mental grit and toughness, and to be honest, hitting rock bottom. I remember to this day, one of the hardest things I think I've ever done is prove Green's and Stokes' theorem from scratch. And let me tell you, it's not easy. And, it's that sort of mentality when you apply it to tech today that I think you need to have. And from university, I didn't have a very linear path. I've worked at a couple of different companies, a large tech company that had, 280,000 employees. I was at an early stage tech company that had less than 30 people, where I was hire number 12. And now I'm at AtScale. And I would say some common themes across all of these companies is they sought to define net new categories within the tech space. They focused on data and AI, and they focused on applying and using tech. And I think each one of these helped me learn and build very different experiences. At IBM, the larger of the tech companies, I felt like I had multiple tours of duty, right? Which is something that a larger company can provide. I had the opportunity to be an engineer, which is where I started my career. Moved into corporate strategy, got a view of how things come together at the utmost levels. I spent time in sales, product, engineering. And through that, I would say I learned a lot about process and also understanding how to serve established markets. And most of this was around machine learning and AI and extending even into trusted AI. And I think while that was one unique experience, coming to a startup after that, I learned I'm not in a very established market. I don't have a process. I have the opportunity to create from scratch here. And in that company, I was the VP of product, which was Neural Magic. And you get to touch every aspect of product, marketing, go to market, and even things like fundraising. So a very different experience, but also technical, also about establishing something new in a net new market. And then finally, I've been here at AtScale, and here I get to effectively build out with my colleagues a net new business, right? So this is product engineering and go to market all around what we call a semantic layer. And, for me, I think my background, while varied, I learned that I enjoy things in particular, like new and emerging technology. It's what led me to a deep learning startup and now at AtScale. I enjoy talking to customers and solving hard problems, some of which I learned, like I said, way back in university. And, for me, kind of that intersection of business and technology is something that I get excited about. Well, I like to think of myself as a techie, unless that technology is being used and applied in some way to impact a desired outcome. To me, it's not as interesting. And, it might be for others, but that's really what gets me going.
Well, Gaurav, I want to build on what you've touched on here. Firstly, thank you for your background and journey, and it follows a nice trend regardless of the company size. towards your interest in working on technology that can have an impact regardless of company size. But you've brought us up to the point where you're currently at. You're with AtScale. So before we go into your role in more detail, tell us about AtScale as a business, who you are, what you do, what's the mission of the organization.
Absolutely. So at scale, we've built out the enterprise semantic layer. And, what that is, I'll describe in a minute. It's really around the challenge that we saw around data silos, no single view, lack of consistency, lack of governance, data movement, right? These are common threads that large enterprises have to deal with, right? How one group defines revenue can be very different, between finance, sales, and marketing, for example. And what we've built with the semantic layer is a logical view of your data where it resides without having to move it. And what we can do from that logical view is connect it to an underlying data store, like a data lake, lakehouse, or a database such as BigQuery or Snowflake, and then to the consumption tool, right? The thing that a business user is going to use to extract information out and make a decision, like Excel, Tableau, Power BI. And we can enable that query with improved performance analytics without any data extracts. And so in an underlying tone, we make it easier for our end users and customers who struggle with data to modernize BI workloads on the cloud. And where I come into this is, how do we expose now a semantic layer to developers, people who are building machine learning models, training and deploying AI, data scientists, citizen data scientists? How do we expose that business metric and that business view that we've captured into the semantic layer and apply it to someone who's building a predictive model that ultimately is supposed to serve a business outcome?
So your role oversees machine learning and AI, which is a broadly encompassing title. But can you give us some insight into what the current makeup of the ML and AI team looks like, what the day-to-days are, and maybe an example of some projects that you're working on for some customers right now?
Absolutely. So think of us as, we have a traditional product management and engineering organization, as well as customer facing engineers. And what we're doing day to day is working with some of our existing customers, some of the big Fortune 100 companies, retailers, banks that are leveraging at scale today, right, to improve their BI decision making, improve their modernization of BI workloads to the cloud, and have built this metrics hub. And as we work with these customers, we tease out what relevant attributes do they need on the developer side, right? Data scientists, machine learning engineers, to make that ML pipeline more efficient, more business ready, so that when they create their artifact, which is typically a machine learning model, then when they deploy that artifact at scale, it gets used. So what that translates back to is a constant focus and obsession with meeting with these customers, meeting with these users, digesting a set of requirements, and then making sure that we plan and prioritize accordingly so that we're always delivering the next set of features that we think they're going to need, but do so in a way where we always get that design buy-in and feedback early on in the process.
You are listening to the Aldis Podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.aldis.com.
Gaurav, I want to talk now about the various industries that AtScale is working with, company sizes and profile, because what you're talking about, it can be applicable to all company sizes across all industries. Can you give us a bit of a broader overview of who's using AtScale? What are the main reasons they're coming to you for support, and maybe some impact that you've had for them since implementing the platform?
So, the problem of analytics and decision making and then applying machine learning AI, it's a common theme across any industry, whether you're doing business forecasting, sales churn, sales mitigation. We've been working with a lot of big Fortune 100 and 200 companies that are using AtScale to improve the decision making process they have by building out this consistent view of their data. And once they've done that, they've started to realize the economic benefit of not having to move their data. They're realizing why having a centralized governed view of their data that's now being used by business consumers is a positive thing. And then more importantly, as we transition into machine learning and AI, they're starting to understand the power of connecting the artifacts that a machine learning and a data scientist creates in their life cycle, right? So in the model building phase, and how they connect that back. And I think that's a powerful concept that's missed, right? AI and BI theoretically are in two different environments. They serve different users and they use different tools. By using a semantic layer that can understand the dialects of both and connect them with the same level of consistency and governance is powerful, because now we can actually improve the use and adoption of AI by connecting it to the business decisions and the business metrics that we're used to within AtScale.
Gaurav, I want to spend some time now talking about the roadmap ahead, not just for AtScale, but for machine learning and AI as a whole. It'd be good to understand what the next 1 to 2 years look like for AtScale. What are some of the milestones you're working towards? And with that, what growth of the team do you anticipate?
We're currently in the midst of building out our cloud offering today. So we will have an enterprise SaaS offering as well as participation in more of the marketplaces that people are well aware of with some of the large cloud providers. And as I mentioned, we're also significantly investing more on the machine learning and AI side to make sure that we can showcase the semantic layer, not just for BI, but how we can help impact AI adoption as well. So you will see a lot more focus from us on application of the semantic layer, right? And continuing to serve these different personas, but bring them together in a meaningful way.
Staying on the topic of what's next, you and I were talking about offline about one of the things that within AI that's particularly important to you and some of the work that you're doing at scale. In order to have continued growth and confidence in AI applications and machine learning, there has to be an element of trust. And that's one of the biggest obstacles for organizations outsourcing or handing off or delegating any aspect of their technology and data. You do a lot of work at the executive level, but also with your customers and on educating and promoting trust within AI. Can you talk about why that's important to you and why it's something that at scale is so specifically focused on?
Yeah, it's a topic that I've enjoyed for much of my career. I'll give you two stats to hopefully articulate the why this is important and why we're focusing on this. IDC recently predicted that the growing solution market for AI is going to hit about 500 billion in the next 2 years. And then subsequently, Gartner in the last 3 weeks has, done a study that has concluded that 54% of AI projects fail. So we kind of see this discrepancy of large spend, large investment, but little ROI. And when you think about why machine learning and AI is not making its way into production or into commercial use, one of the underlying elements is trust. Do I understand the decisions that my machine learning model is making prior to putting into a business process? Can I explain it? As I run these at scale, am I consistently making the right predictions, or is my model drifting? Or has my model achieved a new level of bias that's now no longer acceptable for the thresholds that I've set? So this problem, you hear a lot about societal and cultural issues that stem from this, which are true, right? Like take underwriting as an example. If the interest changes overnight, which, we're in a pretty crazy environment and that can happen, is the model that's approving underwriting or loans, is it consistently doing so after this interest rate has changed? Or am I starting to bias against certain ages, populations, locations? These are common themes that are starting to happen. We need to do a better job in the industry to make sure that machine learning AI is more usable. And to do that, we have to start to build this trusted foundation and trusted set of capabilities that are going to become foundational to using AI. And then we got to focus on the education side of this as well, right? We need more cross-disciplinary teams within enterprises, whether it's large companies or whether it's on the consumer side of AI, but to better understand and focus on this systemic issue.
Final question for me then, Gaurav. When you look at the overall roadmap for AtScale and the plans for the next year to 2 years, the success you've already has as a business, what are you most excited about for the next phase of your journey and the next year or two at AtScale?
I think scale. I think that's where, I'm going to get most excited about. And I'd also argue some of these new capabilities that we're starting to introduce that really leverages the semantic layer and builds the semantic layer almost as a system of record. And to me, that's pretty powerful. There's lots of talk about control planes and layers, but there's very few technology components out there that are pervasive enough to hit some of the most commonly used consumption tools in the world. Today, you could argue that's BI and AI tooling, but nothing exists in the market to bring those two worlds together and create this bidirectional flow. And that's exactly what we're investing in here at AtScale to make sure that developers and data-driven personas, as well as the consumer of those data-driven products and applications, can simultaneously use these products and services, I say real time, but I really mean on demand, right? At the speed of business. And I think to me, that becomes the most exciting challenge and opportunity that we face here.
Gaurav, thank you so much for your time today. Great to learn about your own journey and what's led you to where you are today, some of the roles you've held. Fascinating work at AtScale is really a great use of AI and machine learning, helping companies of all sizes across all industries. And your outlook on the AI space as a whole is quite exciting. We're looking forward to seeing what you and the team at AtScale can accomplish in the months and years to come. And we look forward to having you back on the show.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the All This Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.allthis.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.